I don't like the idea that you can do it all. For me, it's a red flag, not just forwarders, but in general. I can do everything. No, recognize your weakness and say, hey, I will pass on this project because it's not to me. Don't send me a quote. Don't try to compete with something that is not your strength, would put both of us at risk.
Welcome to Project Cargo Professionals, the podcast that takes you inside the heavy lift business, produced in partnership with Varamol. This week, we're joined by our first shipper, Agustin Harriague, VP of Logistics at Mitsubishi Power Americas. His advice to LSPs: know your strengths and your weaknesses, just don't pretend you can do it all. Join us as we chat all things power, plus making a career in project logistics more attractive for the next generation. So, Agustin, to kick off, tell us what Mitsubishi Power Americas is and how you fit into that.
Cool. Yeah, so Mitsubishi Power Americas is the regional arm of the Mitsubishi conglomerate when it comes to power generation. We are a leading provider in products and solutions for the power generation market, part of the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries group. The name Mitsubishi is typically more linked to the car manufacturing side of business, but as a conglomerate, there's other different industries and sectors Mitsubishi operates. And in our case, we are in the energy market. We provide gas turbines, generators, steam turbines, derivative turbines, hydrogen. We support the energy transition with our hydrogen solutions and so on. That's more on the product side, really. And then when it comes to solutions, we deploy projects, work with our EPC partners and customers, contracts and spare parts and maintenance for those units that are connected to the grid already. In my role, I've been with Mitsubishi Power for getting to 2 years now in June. So I started in June 23 with Mitsubishi Power in my vice president role for logistics, warehousing, and inventory. So it's not just project logistics in a way, right? As projects takes a lot of my time and effort, but also have responsibilities over their manufacturing logistics, all the inbounds to support our manufacturing in the Americas, warehousing for sure, and then all the logistics and transportation for spare parts to support our customers in their outages and maintenance programs.
Sounds good. And I know you're in Orlando at the moment, but you're originally from Argentina, right?
Yep. I was born and raised in Argentina. I grew up in Buenos Aires City. That's where all my family is from. My wife is from Argentina as well. So our ties are very strong to our home country.
So tell us a bit about Argentina and what it was like growing up in Buenos Aires, a great city.
Right. So Argentina, it's a country of roughly 46 million these days. It's just heavily populated in a few cities. I grew up in Buenos Aires City, the greater Buenos Aires area, 15, 16 million people. So you can really feel all the buzz of a big city. And yeah, it's a country where we are well known. Besides our soccer players and being the current World Cup champions, right, in soccer, I'm very passionate about soccer. Very known about the passion of our people, which is something I kind of embody as well in terms of how I lead and how I operate in my professional life. It's also a country of big inequalities that shapes the way you operate, the way you think, right? Because typically a day in Argentina will be a year somewhere else. The pace of how things happen, how the situation fluctuates and can evolve pretty quickly. We are known also maybe for our economical crisis. Very often we get into financial and economic crisis, inflation, debt, economic misbehavior, and that shapes the way you operate, the way you think. We prepare to face risk and to operate and manage in complex environments because that's the way we grew and that's the way we live.
So good training for a career in project logistics.
Yeah, I think it's a great training. You are more aware of your surroundings in a way of, yes, we're doing this is the plan A, but things can go south very quickly, right? What is going to be our plan B? What's our plan C? How we can make sure that from a risk perspective, we are prepared to face that uncertainty, which in this global environment we're living, in the world we're living these days, is for me, is a huge asset. But that prepares you for how you face your professional career. I go back to the passion, right? We are very passionate people, very creative people, very solutions oriented because that's what we need to succeed in life. to be creative and be pragmatic enough.
And at some point you had to start working. So tell us about your early career, how you started out.
Yeah, I've been in logistics for this year is going to be 20 years. I started almost fresh out of high school. I started in the food and beverage company, one of the bigger ones in Argentina. I started there as an office boy, what I would call running errands, getting out to bring paperwork. At the time, not everything was electronic and digitalized. And so there was a lot of paperwork involved and transactions and checks, right? There was not so much wiring of funds. You had to go to customs, you had to go to the freight forwarders, you had to go to carriers. And so I got involved for one reason or the other, reporting to logistics. And we typically say that once you get into logistics, you get stuck into it, right? So a couple of years later, I moved to start working for Siemens. I have been with Siemens for almost 14, 15 years. Then I get into the power generation sector as a logistic analyst. I get to support my first projects at the time. Now we're talking 2007, around 2007. So I joined the power generation sector. And since then, in my entire career, I've been in different logistics roles, supply chain roles as a whole. From 2010 or so, I became a manager of a small team back in Argentina. And from there on, I have been with different managerial or leadership roles, always within the power generation. Started at project logistics, then I decided, hey, I need to expand into other areas of the business. And here I am. I have a stance of almost 2 years in the renewables side. I was with a company called Fluence Energy, battery energy storage provider. So I was the global director. I get into a global role with them, kind of setting up the organization, their global footprint for logistics. And since June 23 with Mitsubishi Power.
So how did you make your move to the US? How did that happen?
That's interesting. I was looking for an opportunity to work abroad for a couple years, right? When I was still sitting in Argentina. And back in 2013, 2014, was managing a very complex project, southern of Buenos Aires, that for different reasons, economical environment at the time and other reasons as well, did not go as planned. Not the logistics, but the project as a whole, right? So,
Yeah.
and I got kind of burned out after 2 years working, and those opportunities to have an international experience not coming along. Me and my now wife at the time, my girlfriend, we were both looking for an opportunity. And then at the end of 2014, we decided to take a sabbatical. We're going to take a sabbatical and we're going to travel the world, backpacking, something really out of our comfort zone. And we just decided to travel the world for a year. After 6 months that I was traveling, I remember we were probably in Thailand. I received a proposal from Siemens at the time if I was interested in coming to the US now in a project logistics management role. So it turned out that with all the visa paperwork, the processing, we were able to finish our travel plans. So we basically traveled for 1 year, came back home, back in Argentina, got the visa paperwork waiting for me, went to the embassy, and maybe 3 weeks later, I was in my new home now in Orlando, ready to start a new life. So that's really how I came to the US. And it's interesting how I always say life finds its way, right? So something you have as a goal, you wanted to have an international experience, have that experience working abroad. In my case, it was easy to get it once I took the courage to make the decision and leave.
So if somebody's feeling in a similar way and they're frustrated in their role or they're feeling burned out or something, you recommend the experience, what you did, going traveling?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I became a little bit different person in many different aspects, right? It's a lifetime experience. Taking that decision, that leap into something new, being courageous enough or adventurous in a way. I don't want to sound cheesy, but that really shaped the way I am these days.
I was going to say it's a brave decision because, you've got a good job with a good company and it's quite a decision to make.
Yeah, you need to have the strength and endurance to stand by your decision, because now you're going to hear from a lot of different people about why you're doing the wrong thing and why you should stay comfortable with what you have. It's a promising career. I was in my late 20s at the time. I'm already a manager and do have a team and do have a good job and have the reputation in Argentina in the project logistic community. And you're going to leave that behind, but not really. You still bring that with you. So life will take its turn, but it find its way.
So be brave.
Be brave. Yeah, that could be my motto, right?
And at some point, you end up at Mitsubishi Power Americas. So tell us about the type of project cargo that you need to ship.
Yeah, basically what we move, as I say at the beginning, is gas turbines, generators. Could be from 300 metric tons to almost 600 metric tons of equipment, right? All over the world, our supply chain is really a global supply chain, heavily, influenced by our Asian heritage, right? Gas turbines, generators, steam turbines, all different type of auxiliary equipment. We use rail, barging, ocean, air freight. When it comes to heavy haul cargo, I think it's between 300 metric tons to up to 600 metric tons. That is typically what we see in terms of our equipment.
And what are the major projects that you've got in the next few years that are going to keep your logistics service providers busy?
So certainly we are focused on the Americas region, right? From Canada up to Argentina. We have projects in Mexico, projects in Brazil, and certainly in the US. But over the next couple of years, mainly for the next 5 years or so, I do see our focus to be really in the US market. That's where they have our strongest pipeline of projects. And there's a lot of opportunities in other countries. Brazil is huge, Mexico, right? And we do have projects in Canada. But when you see the pipeline of projects as a whole, our focus is going to be in the US, and especially around the Gulf, the US Gulf.
And you said you've been there a couple of years now. You told me before about the Mitsubishi supply chain transformation. What did that involve, and how would you describe your logistics strategy?
Yeah, that's interesting because before I came here, the way Mitsubishi used to operate in terms of supply chain was kind of, I don't like the word siloed, but each business unit managed their own supply chain. And the idea to bring in this integrated supply chain organization was to be able to boost the efficiency and boost the way those business units collaborate and have a common strategy and common approach to supply chain. A lot of the suppliers and service providers we use are all the same across the business, and the strategies could be applied across the business. So beginning of 2023, there was a decision being made about bringing us integrated supply chain organization together. And that came with an effort to transform and organize the way we do things around here. The way logistics operates these days for Mitsubishi Power is not the same way we used to operate in the past. Expectations are higher, right? When I came in June 23, I said, hey, I need 90 days and I will come with a strategy, which is a 3-year plan, which includes becoming customer emotional favorite.
What does that mean?
That means we want a customer to love what we do, love our products, love our solutions, right? And be embedded with the customer in a way that we speak the same language, we go for the same goal, and we support our customers with their growth journeys as well. We need to be partners with our customers. So we spend a lot of time, me and my team, we spend a lot of time talking to logistics service providers, carriers, forwarders, different companies, heavy haulers, about how our strategy ties to them and what role they play in our strategy, what they bring to the table. And that comes from networking, from discussions, for being present at events, for driving that strategy, for driving those tough conversations. It's about the good, the bad, the ugly, right? And be forthcoming about those things. Doing surveys. It's interesting that we did a survey last year after we onboarded a lot of suppliers, and not everyone had a seat at the table in this transformation. Why? Because some of them couldn't compete, or some of them weren't in line with the new playbook and the new rules of the game. And I respect that. But then we did a pulse check, and it was very interesting, the feedback we got in that survey. It's about how embedded we are and how we are understanding each other with the suppliers as part of this transformation journey.
What was the ugly that came out of the survey?
It's interesting because close to 90%, they responded that they have a very strong understanding of what we are aiming for. I don't need the names. I don't need to know who responded what. It was totally anonymous. So if 90% of our people we survey in an anonymous environment where you can say whatever you want, say that they understand what we are looking for and what our expectations are, That means something good in terms of communicating the strategy and driving the strategy.
And what would you say are the skills and the characteristics of the service providers that you work with and that you've been impressed with? What are you looking for?
Yeah, when it comes to projects, there's different aspects for it in my perspective. When it comes to forwarders, I like to work with forwarders that are solution oriented. I go back to the verticals, right? Don't lock me into your verticals. Let's see what is the problem at stake, the project we have at stake, the challenges we have, and let's find creative solutions. That's typically work better with the project-based forwarders, kind of niche type forwarders. We work with heavy haulers, we work with ocean carriers directly. A lot of what we are doing these days is going direct to ocean carriers, direct to the heavy haulers. We have a strong team that can manage that. And also understanding, in a way, from a segmentation perspective, who are the players that can help us and add value into all the different segments we have. We may work for project forwarders for the project logistics side, and those same forwarders may not be involved in our parts business or our manufacturing business. There's a different type of pace and different type of solutions we need.
We're thrilled that the first series of Project Cargo Professionals is exclusively sponsored by Varamar Shipping. Founded in 2009 by shipping serial inventor Alexander Varvarenko, Varamar specializes in bulk, break bulk, heavy lift, and oversized shipments, and is a trusted carrier to and from Europe, the Middle East, Asia, and Africa. At Varamar, massive structures like wind turbines or entire factories are a day-to-day business, and as a semi-liner carrier, they can offer tailor-made solutions, calling wherever and whenever you need them to. With offices in 13 countries, including recent openings in Asia, they're bridging the East-West gap. A multilingual team fluent in languages from English and German to Arabic and Chinese means communication is seamless. Visit varamar.com to find out more and ask them about their new regular service connecting the Middle East, India, Indonesia, and Australia. Visit varamar.com. Now back to the show. But it's not always the biggest companies that you get the best service from. Is that fair to say?
I think we work with a lot of the big guys, right? We need to just be smart to understand where they can be the best provider for us. I don't like the idea that you can do it all. For me, it's a red flag, not just forwarders, but in general. I can do everything. No. I just want to understand where you are the most powerful and
their strengths.
What are the strengths? And you also recognize your weakness and say, hey, I will pass on this project because it's not to me. Don't send me a quote. Don't try to compete with something that is not your strength, would put both of us at risk.
And what other mistakes do service providers make? Where do they go wrong?
A lot of times it's like, again, locking in, right? Try to lock in. And this is what we do. This is what we offer. And then I typically say, okay, where you can add value to all this. A lot of the times, I don't hear from them anymore. Why? Maybe because we didn't buy their initial sales pitch about their solutions, especially when we're talking about forwarders, right? A lot of the services they offer have become commoditized. So how you differentiate yourself if everyone has a visibility platform of some sort? If mostly everyone in the project logistics business may have access to a chartering desk. So how you differentiate as a logistics service provider when you speak to us?
How do the best ones do that?
Coming with solutions that fit into our own strategy, and then bring topics that we can relate to because they are already things that we have in our radar as initiatives, and help me develop those initiatives together. Let's be creative about how we can come together to the table in terms of collaboration. If I'm going to send you an RFP and I call you a partner, that's not really a partnership. You are one out of my 20 partners. And I don't need maybe 20 forward, especially in the project business. I just need the ones that are strong enough and really merge with what we are trying to accomplish here.
And we know it's a common complaint or a common comment. How do we stop people seeing logistics purely as a cost? What's your opinion on that?
Okay, on that one, I would say my view, you need to understand what side of the table you're in. If you're a logistics service provider, you're a carrier, a heavy hauler, a forwarder, logistics is your core business. You are in the business of logistics. Here for us, the core business of Mitsubishi Power is not transportation and logistics per se. Our business is to provide the best solutions and the best equipment possible. I don't see logistics as a cost center. For me, logistics is a strategic function as a lever to the business. I'm not looking into having logistics become a profit center because that's not the core of what we do. We need to have the best people, the best solutions, the best logisticians, the best processes and concepts when it comes to projects to make sure we can provide the best service and the most reliable and safe delivery process as possible. But the ultimate goal of what we do, at the center of what we do, at the core of what we do, is to support our customers with power generation. So not a cost center. I think we are a strategic function, hugely important strategic function. And yeah, we do have impact on the profitability and the P&L of the company. We carry significant budgets, but at the core of what we do is to deliver the best solutions possible for the power generation market.
So when you hear service providers complaining clients are only focused on cost, I suppose that's natural, right?
I think it's natural. We have to be cost conscious and cost competitive. But there's other things we value, and certainly we bring soft factors into our decision-making process in terms of risk mitigation, in terms of how financially sound these companies are, what experience we have dealing with and working with this specific provider. Do we have a history of any incidents and claims with that service provider? All those are things that add up to a more comprehensive evaluation, right? But the cost factor, it's certainly there, but it's not the only thing. We don't take shortcuts when it comes to quality, and when it comes to project logistics specifically, you can't take shortcuts in terms of safety and quality. The concept is above everything, in my view.
And in terms of the US market, what changes have you noticed since the election?
Oh man, the US market is hot these days. The power generation market is super hot. I would not say really because of the election and those election results. It's something that we have seen starting even so before the election. But the market, the power generation, I think it's the current situation of the US market has no precedent. Don't want to call it a boom, but it's so hot that it's also challenging in a way because it changes the dynamics of the market. It will change the dynamics of how we see the power generation market and how you operate in that market over the next couple of years. AI is keeping the topic on the headlines, right? You hear AI and power demand and so on. I think it's more, there are other drivers for that too. It's electrification, it's manufacturing. There's a mix of different things, and certainly AI and data centers is a huge driver for the US market right now.
Yeah.
We can't stand still. We still have to provide the best solutions possible at the best cost possible. But this is a complete different market for what I've seen over the last, certainly 20 years in my career in power generation, especially since I came here to the US in the last 9 years. Customers want 24/7 capacity to the grid. They want to decarbonize between O&Ms, EPC, utilities, customers. There's a whole different level we're getting into.
And how are the recent changes in US trade policy affecting you? Huge disruption, huge changes going on. Are you seeing customers making changes to their supply chains already? And how's that affecting your business, your operations?
We certainly keep a close eye on tariffs and how this situation evolves. In my view, it's more about the uncertainty, how these tariffs being imposed and supply chain risk as a whole, right, globally, the uncertainty that drives is probably more damaging than the causes of that uncertainty. In terms of the market dynamics, probably a slowdown into hydrogen type solutions. We need a path to clean energy, but we need energy now and we need power now. Our customers are looking for capacity and they need power now with a path to clean energy. So that's a different dynamic as well, because 5-6 years ago, we talking about hydrogen and power to X and all those solutions that we are still committed to decarbonization and so on. But with this growing demand, we need to deliver today.
And how do you see the energy transition moving? You've just touched on that. Are there any differences in the US in terms of the approach there compared to other regions?
Yes, there's certain policy shifts in the US. Certainly Europe has been always more on the forefront of the energy transition and topics like that with emissions. I think it's slower a little bit, as I said, with the expectations for those to deliver today, and especially with this AI and data centers and all the factors, the driving factors we were talking before, right? That's driving the need of power and power today. So we need to grow the grid, exponentially grow the grid, and then we need to decarbonize the grid at the same time, which sound like conflicting targets in a way, but they are not, in my opinion.
And just wanted to talk a bit about mentorship and the next generation of logistics professionals coming through. You manage a lot of people, you have a lot of logistics people working for you, is that right?
Yeah, my organization is a team of 52 people right now across all the areas of the business we support. That includes full-time employees and contractors, but we're a team of 52 people. I'm very proud to say that one of our key assets is the diversity in our team. Last time I counted, we have 13 nationalities in the group, right? So out of 52 people, you have 13 nationalities. I think that's a really a powerful story, but it's also adds in a way a challenge how we understand each other, how we collaborate, coming from different ways of lives and different cultures and so on. So that makes it more certainly fun, but also we have to get to understand each other and we have to be able to work together and collaborate. When it comes to developing people, as I say, back to our strategy we're talking at the beginning, right? People is at the forefront of the center of what we do. It's about mentoring people, allowing them to grow. Most of our people in the team in my organization have development plans, documented development plans, and regular development discussions with their leaders, with their managers, and so on. And always available also if they want to come to me. I have mentees that I carry even from my times in Argentina, and I am in regular touch with them. And I have mentees that I have assigned more of a formal program right here with the Mitsubishi from the US, from Mexico. This is one of the key aspects of project logistics is the pipeline of talent and how we can attract that next generation, where typically there's a gap between the leaders and the historical figures in project logistics of what we do, right? There's a generational gap with the ones we're coming from behind and getting into leadership roles and so on, and how we make that attractive to people coming out of high school and coming out of college to get into logistics, and certainly project logistics as a niche.
And we've all been saying that for a long time now. Do you think there's been progress in the last, I don't know, year or two? Is it becoming more attractive?
I think it has been attractive, more attractive from the perspective of supply chain as a whole over the last, say, 5 years or so, starting with the pandemic maybe. Certainly there's more visibility about what supply chain brings and what supply chain is about. The branding side of the project logistics, right? It's how we make that attractive, how we make people to know what project logistics is. And that could be a great career path. A lot of people stumble into logistics or project logistics, and then you get sucked into it. But then you have to have that first chance to get attracted to it.
Yeah.
It's not the most sexy type job that you can dream of at the beginning. But look, when you start to move gas turbines or 600 metric tons or 1,000 metric tons type of equipment, That's sexy cargo too, right? So that makes it interesting and can be really fun.
Get to travel the world.
Get to travel the world, get to connect with a lot of different people.
And we were on an email chain the other day where somebody wrote, the biggest challenge is how to attract new talent in a world of algorithms, YouTube, and Google. Nowadays, many shipping people never saw a ship. Customer service from some of the lines is in a past tense too. What are your thoughts on that?
Couple things to that. In my organization, I put a lot of effort in providing the team with on-the-job experiences. If you work in logistics, you have to have the experience to be at the port, witness a lifting operation, a discharge or loading operation. You have to go to site, right? You have to go to a warehouse. You have to know what we're talking about when we talk project logistics. And a lot of our people, I will agree with a lot of our people, have never seen a ship. But what we're doing to deal with that? I'm sending people to witness those operations monthly. As much as we have cargo, we're sending people out. Yeah. That's money well invested. Now, that's one area. The other area is how we're going to make it attractive to younger generations to get into project logistics. If we don't use the tools that these new generations are all about, YouTube, social media, whatever type of appreciation and reward they are looking for. Are they looking for 24/7 hour availability and you can't have a life? A lot of people glorify that we in logistics don't have a life. That's not going to be attractive for younger generations. They operate differently. Their mindset is somewhere else. So we have to make attractive to those generations to get into logistics and love what they do and love our industry. And therefore, we have to use all the tools available.
And let's talk a bit about personal branding and professional networking. What do you encourage your younger team members to do in terms of personal branding? And what's your approach to that personally?
I think that personal branding is just another tool. It's a networking tool. Networking is huge in what we do, and it's super important. Relationships are important, but we use the tools available, right? That has to be backed up with what you bring to the table. If you want to do TikTok all day or YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever your platform of choice is, then you have to back up what you bring to the table. Otherwise, the only thing you bring to the table is content, and content, you become an influencer in terms of social media. But the trust, your reputation, and so on has to be backed up with solid foundations. Personal branding, I use that. I'm big on that for myself, but that's just another tool to deliver your message, to broaden your audience, to broaden your impact within the industry. But at the end, your impact will come from whatever you deliver to the industry and what you bring to the table when it comes to performance, output, reputation, and the trust you earn in those relationships.
And you spoke about relationships. We hear a lot, relationships is the most important thing in shipping. It's not who you know, it's what you know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, my view on that is a little bit more problematic. I do think relationships are hugely important for what we do. I'm not downplaying the importance of relationships. The only thing I'm saying and openly say in different forums is that doesn't make us unique. People think logistics, one of the assets of us in logistics is the relations are the foundations of what we do. And if I'm trading oil, whatever you do, you have your relationships. The relationships are not unique to us logisticians. So it's hugely important. We have to be vested in our relationships. There's a power to the relationships and network, but that does not make us unique.
And we see a lot of people transition from the client and the service provider side. Have you ever attempted to go and work for a logistics company?
No, I've never been on the other side.
And you're happy where you are?
Oh, super happy. I'm having fun. So to have fun is everything for me. The times that I decided to move on into something else or something new is because I wasn't having fun anymore. And I love what I do. I give my team and the organization my 120%, my 150%. I also have a lot of high expectations and I like to have fun. And once I'm not having fun, and I understand that Not always you will be having fun, and there's tough moments too, and moments that require bold decisions. But it's about what ignites that passion inside you of waking up and have to deal with a fluent environment as logistics is.
And just a couple of questions to finish. Tell us your career highlight.
I think my career highlight is about getting to lead a team. As I said before, a quite diverse team. A team of people, in this case, is this amount of people. It was 20 people before, it was 10 people in the past, 5. Get to work with them and get to understand each other. Not always we are friends, but there was always respect and a level of trust. So that would be my career highlight. The low light comes when we are not having fun anymore, and consistently, there were times in my life where I wasn't having fun anymore, and it was a very tough environment. Situations like, I'll tell you which one, which was probably a miscalculation by my side. In the middle of the pandemic, I decided to leave Siemens and I moved to Fluence. So, okay, it's all containerized cargo, it's a different dynamics. Now, I got into a very complex environment in the worst moment possible, because now I have to ship thousands on thousands of 40 feet high cube reefer containers full of lithium-ion batteries to the West Coast. It's a perfect storm. In 2021, this is the perfect storm. So all the stress to have to deal with that was a huge challenge to overcome. We turned out to a successful result, but that miscalculation of how you are getting exposed to, what you're getting exposed to, is also something to consider in a way.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Project Cargo Professionals, powered by Varamar. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Got feedback, a guest suggestion, or a story worth telling? Don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, let's keep in touch. Follow me, Luke King, on LinkedIn, and explore more at projectcargopros.com.